So welcome back to the Project Team Management app tutorial series. This will be the last video, and in this video we're just going to go through how to create kind of a nice pop-up of something over this screen here when you hit save, so that it pops up and says, are you sure? And you can hit yes or no. So right now when I hit save here, it saves our item straight away. And just to give you a reminder, it's an app where we can select whatever item we want here, and in here when we hit save, it saves it. But a lot of the time you kind of need to double check to make sure someone hasn't hit the button by accident. So what we're going to do is create a pop-up, so that when I hit this, instead of running all this code, we're going to do a pop-up where there it runs the code. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to keep all this error checking in here, but I will be moving some of this patch information in a little while, so I'm going to actually comment this out. And to comment out a big series of text here, we'll put that forward slash, a little star, and at the bottom we'll put a star and a forward slash, and it'll just comment out that whole section right there. And instead of this here, what we have is, like right now inside this save button, on its onSelect property, we have a bunch of our error checking to make sure our employee field isn't blank, our project field isn't blank, our comment field isn't blank. And then we have an if statement, and if none of these things are blank, what I'm going to do now is just put in a new update context kind of variable in here. I'm going to say update context, and I'm going to say var pop-up, because I'm going to want a pop-up screen to come up here. So I'm going to put var pop-up, and I'm going to set that to true. And my keyboard is not catching everything I'm typing in here. I'm after missing a little curly brace here. But now we've got it all together. So I do think we need one more bracket here just to close that thing out. So now when we hit that save button, if there's no blanks in my fields here, it's going to set my thing here, my var pop-up, to true. So my var pop-up is what I want that to be, is kind of a box that pops up that asks you, are you sure you want to save it? And you've got the option of yes or no. So what I like to do here is I like to put a rectangle in first. So I'm going to put a rectangle in over this, cover the whole screen with it. So I'm going to put this rectangle in like that. I'm going to set it to the color black, but I'm also going to customize it and make it a little bit see-through. So if you see this little line here, allows me to give it set the kind of transparency. So now I've got that little gray box over everything here, and I'm also going to rename that. I'm going to call it rect dark overlay, just to keep it easy to find when we're working with it later. I'm also going to add in another rectangle. This will be like our little text box where we're going to actually have the yes or no information. So I'm going to add in another rectangle and put it somewhere central. There, that looks good to me. And let's make this white, let's say. That looks good to me. So this is the box where we are going to, and I'm going to put that, rename this as well. I'm going to call it icon rectangle pop-up, something like that. That's going to, or maybe I'll just call it icon pop-up. So ICN pop-up. And this is the box that we're going to display a bit of text. So I'm going to put in a new little label here. I'm going to select label, bring this down here, and I'm just going to put in some text here that says, are you sure you want to save? And let's make that a little bit bigger. Let's make it 20. Let's try 30 straight away. And let's try something a little more. Let's try 20. Are you sure you want to save? And let's center it. think we can actually maybe make our text box a little bit smaller. And now here I'm going to put in 2 buttons. So I'm going to put in a little button here and another button over here, and just have pretty much a yes or no. So on this button here, I am going to put yes in the text item, and over here I'm going to put no. I'm also going to color these buttons the same as kind of what we've been doing, so that purple color that we've been putting on almost everything in this app. So are you sure you want to save? And yes or no. And really all I want to do now is make sure, well, one other thing that we probably want here is a little icon of a cancel. So even though it'll be the same as hitting no, it's often nice to put in a little button like that so that people have a way of getting out of an app or out of a little screen as well. One thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to put a bit of padding in on this, because if you look at it, it's a big X, and rather than make it small, because the problem with if I make it small like that, it makes the clickable area small as well. So what I'm going to do actually is just set my width and height of it to 1770, but I'm going to put a padding of 5 in for top, bottom, left and right. And that should kind of make it a little bit smaller and yet kind of keep the clickable area quite large. And we could even make that a little bit smaller again, so I'm going to try 10, and let's see if 10, 10, and 10, and that's a little bit neater, but it means I can still kind of click any area around it and it'll pick up on what I'm trying to do. So now I've got all these things here that I want. I'm going to rename these a little bit. So I'm going to rename this LBL for label. I'm going to call it label double check, because we're double checking if they're sure. And this button down here, I'm going to just call it button no. So BTN and O. And the other button, I'm going to call it BTN yes. So BTN yes. And icon, I'm going to call it ICN icon exit pop-up. And that way all these things will be easy found for us. Now one thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to select each of those little items that I'm just after putting on, and I'm going to group them together. And I'll call it group 1. I'm going to rename my group. I'm going to rename it group pop-up. And why I'm doing that is because I'm going to want them to have some common features. So I don't really want this visible all the time. I want them to kind of go away when I hit this X button up here. So if you remember, when I set up my save button, I set up a var pop-up, and I'll want this to be visible when that's true. So I'm going to go to click on my group, which will set this for all those items in my group, which are all these bits like the button and all that. So right now it says true, but I'm going to actually change that true to var pop-up. This way it'll only show if my var pop-up is true. So right now they're not shown. When I click this, it should set my var pop-up to true. And actually it doesn't, because it's still going on that error checking of checking my employee. I'm going to put in A and B, and now when I hit save, it sets my var pop-up to true, which is really handy. And then similarly, when I hit this X, I'll kind of want that to go away. So when I hit X, that escape on this little pop-up, I'm going to change my onSelect feature there to an update context. I want to set my var pop-up to false. And so now when I hit that X, I should be able to get rid of it. And that's really cool. So I can hit save and it pops up, and if I hit X, it'll go away. Similarly, I want the same feature on the no button. And I know there's kind of like a duplicate of functions here, but a lot of the time for customers, they might be nervous about hitting a no button when it's more clear to them that when hitting an X button like that will allow them to escape. So now, the very last thing is, if I hit save here, I've got all this, I can escape, but I still have no code in on my yes. So at the start of our video here on our save button, we commented out our patch statement here, so it's time to grab that. I'm going to copy that out of there. I'm going to leave it there as well in case anything comes up that we need it, but I'm going to copy it out of there. I'm going to click my save button to bring up this little screen here, and on my yes button here I'm going to put in my code. So here I'm putting in my patch statement. Hopefully I've got everything I need. I've got an extra bracket down there, you'll notice, because some of it's held on from that if statement that was in that yes button. But now I've got all that, no red lines. So now I should be able to X this off. And let's actually just try something from scratch. So I'm going to try create a new item. And for some reason that isn't refreshing kind of all my different bits, but for now anyway, we're going to be okay, I think. Let me get rid of some of this information. Let's select something new. Let's select Chris here for a project. For Chris. And is a comment. So I'm just creating a new project, trying it out. So I'm going to hit save here. Brings up my pop-up. I'm going to hit yes. It should navigate me out here and create that item down below. And there it is. New project for Chris. This is a comment and last modified. So there you have it. We've kind of made it an app where we can add new features, edit features, and we've got some nice error checking in here. And yeah, so it's great. We've got some error checking so that if we leave anything blank, we can't see it. But we've also got some double checking here so that if I hit save, it gives us this pop-up here. So very nicely easy to use app. We've also got our search bar. So that's everything for this. This is the end of that project kind of series. So let us know what you thought of it. And yeah, we'll be back with more soon.